What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 212, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're rounding up their Game Awards, bringing you every announcement coming to Xbox from last week's show. We also have a spicy rumor about something coming from Xbox in January, but before we get to that and more, I got to introduce my co-host, JamPackSam. How are you doing, my friend?
What's up, man? I'm doing pretty well. I built a new PC, still had camera issues starting the show. So, at this point, I have no idea.
It's not the PC. We've narrowed it down.
We have narrowed it down. It's not the
PC. A lot of money.
Yeah, well, the only reason I built this PC is for this show specifically. So, I'm glad that the investment was sound, and we'll figure out what the actual cause is. But no, I'm doing well. I have the new PC. That's exciting. 9800X 3D is in the house with a old 3060 Ti. But hey, we're still rocking. We're still doing good. So yeah, I've been playing around on that, and then I've been getting back to games. It was a very stressful couple of weeks. Just had a lot going on, but now we're back in the flow of things. So I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I was actually mentioning I feel like I've been busy every single weekend since the beginning of November, like Friday, Saturday, something like plans every single weekend.
Yeah.
I haven't had any moment to chill, and now it's just it's getting to the holidays, and I'm like, oh man, we're still in this kind of busy period. So I need a day off. It's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, same. I have a lot of time off now from work, like real work. So now I can I think it's the longest stretch of time that I've been off since college. So I have 11 days to do basically YouTube stuff and the other side of my life. But it's also nice to just not have the main thing to focus on anymore. So I'll be playing some games, hanging out, doing some fun stuff like that. But yeah, man, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't. I don't have any long stretch coming up. I work for the state. All right, if anybody is curious, and we literally only get the holiday off. So I get Christmas off, and I get last month I got Thanksgiving off. I had to go to work the day after Thanksgiving, and I was like, come on, guys, what are we doing here?
Now, to be fair, though, I feel like working the week between Christmas and New Year's or even the day after Thanksgiving, it's what are we really doing here? Just bring your Legion Go or your ROG Ally or your Steam Deck, kick the feet up. I do the YouTube thing. We're all playing the game together. So yeah, it's not that bad. I've done it many a time. I get it.
Yeah. Well, enough about that. Let's get into the show proper. This is Project XTalk. We're live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/Save the Game Media. If you can't catch us live, plus every Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us those 5-star reviews, Apple, Spotify. If you haven't done it yet, please, I'm begging you, a Christmas gift, all right? That or subscribe to the YouTube channel because we're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. We're about 40-something away last time I checked. So if you haven't done that either, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to all of our content and exclusive bonus content, head over to patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai Knight, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, Silkin It, Ellery Woods Parker III, Chad, and Rick Davis. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. And before we get out of housekeeping, I know there's a few people in the chat said they're watching it simultaneously, but after this, if you want to go check out our friends over at 61 Indie, check out their Indie Game Awards that they're putting on right now, same time live. That would be awesome. Go show them a lot of love, support. And I see that Sam has actually frozen.
I'm still here. Don't worry about
it. I was like, I don't know if he died or what's going on.
Yeah, I'm still here. I think it's just time to replace the Elgato Cam link. I think that's really what it comes down to. So that might be the move.
Well, Christmas is right, next week. So
it is. We'll see. But I'm still here. I'll be troubleshooting, but I'm around.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the housekeeping I have. So why don't we keep this podcast rolling? And Sam, while you troubleshoot, can you run through what you've been playing?
Yeah, so I have been playing Dragon Age the Veilguard. I have finished it, and I can get deeply into it if you would like, but I did roll credits on Dragon Age the Veilguard, so...
Yeah, let's not spoil anything, but I do want to know how you feel about the ending and the game overall.
So I don't really want to get too deeply into it because I feel like getting into the ending of the game, I can talk about what ending I got, and that might spoil it for people, so I don't want to get too into it. I'll just share overall thoughts on this game. I did not really enjoy it that much. Like I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
it. I love the combat. I love the gameplay. Like I think the moment to moment action is very well done. I really like what they did with that. However, the actual like story, in my mind, this is on par with like Immortals of Avium, which last year, Immortals of Avium is a very good game for the studio that it came from and the team that made it. Like it was a very good AA level game. For Dragon Age to come back and for me be on par with that didn't really do as much for me as I'd hoped that it would. Coming in totally clean, like I had no idea, what to expect. Never played a BioWare game before, but yeah, the writing was just not great, and the story was just okay. And so I think those two things combined really kicked it down. And so I think that the 7 out of 10 range that a lot of reviewers landed, it's probably about where I would pin it. So yeah, that was my reaction to Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Quite frankly, very glad to be done with it. Like it was just one of those things that was lingering over my head, and I think that I would have had a better time had I gone through and really fallen in love with the world and gone through and done side quest and really explored and kind of fleshed out my character relationships a little bit more. But yeah, just
I don't know about that.
Yeah, plowing through the main story did not make me want to go do that stuff, so I didn't want to force myself to go do that stuff.
Can I ask you, you don't have to tell me who, but how many characters died in your ending?
I'll tell you. Well, I can't really say because it'll spoil it.
Yeah. Well, you can tell me how the number that died, right?
Well, you know what? I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. Every person died. Every single person died. So everybody's dead at the end, and thanks for playing. That was kind of where we ended, and that goes back to like if you play through Dragon Age, take the time to actually build out your characters and like get to know people and build those relationships, because that's what this game really kind of lends itself towards. Because if you don't do that, everybody dies, and it's really depressing.
Even your love interest there, she died, huh?
Every single person died. Yep.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. R.I.P. I guess.
Yeah, well, I was kind of finishing it, and my fiance was watching me finish it, and I just kind of looked over at her, and I was like, "What was that? Like, what are we doing here? Like, you shouldn't punish me for mainlining the main quest by being like, if you had spent more time with this person, they probably would have made it. Like, okay, cool. Anyways, what the plot? Can I get some plot, please? It's just bad.
Isn't there like a right before like, because like most of the endings have like I know the best ending has an end credit scene, which I didn't get, but like the good ending in them, they have like other things. It's like the Veilguard will remain watchful or something. I think the bad ending has like you screwed up, like something like, or the Veilguard all perished or something.
It basically at the very end, it was like, hey, you did something wrong, and then I just like rolled credits and thanks for playing. Okay, cool. Anyways, it would have been nice to actually get a reward for even playing this. What took me about 40 hours at the end of it all game. But nonetheless, I made my choices. I made my decisions. I played the game.
That's the RPG way.
It is the RPG way. So I've stuck with it. But that was my Dragon Age: The Veilguard experience. And that took up the bulk of like the time that I spent over the past week playing games in particular.
That's hilarious to me.
But after that, I've been bouncing around to a couple of different games. I started up Indiana Jones. And I will say that going from Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which I feel has really bad writing, to Indiana Jones, which has very good writing, it's almost like, you just haven't eaten in weeks, and then you just pop up on a Wendy's, and you're like, oh my God, a Baconator, like, please come to me, So it's like Indiana Jones is already good. It is now feeling even better because I came off of Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Yeah, it's that Gordon Ramsay meme where he's like, finally some effing food.
Yeah, and so it's just like starting Indiana Jones, Troy Baker killing it. I'm only on like the Vatican mission, like I am not far into it, but I'm really enjoying what I'm playing so far. To your point, you talked about last week, I love the variety of different weapons I can beat somebody with, where I just pick up a random object and just smack somebody upside the head. So that's very nice. So I'll be spending more time with that, finishing that over my little break that I've coming up here. And then I've been bouncing back and forth between Mullet Mad Jack and Halo Infinite. Now, have you played Mullet Mad Jack or heard of it? I know we talked about it, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've mentioned it to me before. It's like a Steam game, I think.
Yeah, so it is. It runs very well on the Steam Deck. I've been playing it on the new PC because it runs really well on the new PC. But they just dropped an update that we got early access to for the people that got press codes. You could put in, the beta code and get early access on Steam. And so there's a boss rush mode now. Excuse me. And so it's got a collab with Ultra Kill, another popular kind of indie that's been popping for a couple of years. So I played through that. It only took like 15 minutes to play the boss rush mode, but I will have you know, I was in the top 5 on the global leaderboard before the public launch when people actually get good. So I do have a screenshot of that in my Steam library, and I was playing that. And then Halo Infinite has a snowball fight mode. It is their winter event, so of course I got to go back, throw some snowballs, have a good time with that.
Did you see the meme I posted I posted in multiple discords? It's like Halo fans, and this was from Scrubs, and it was JD the janitor. They're like, Ted, we found you at the Game Awards throwing rocks at Helldivers. Like, why should they be happy?
Oh man, yeah, that's right now we are at what I would consider to be the lowest point in any Halo's life, where this is like year 3 of Halo 5, and you're just like, man, we're still playing this game, and it's like snowball fight's fun, and the forge stuff is fun, but man, I cannot wait to see what the next Halo game looks like in probably 3 to 4 years.
Well, maybe that remake's coming. You know,
I would love to see something. Give me any kind of anything, really, quite frankly.
Yeah, we need some Halo content for sure.
But well, what have you been playing, my friend? What you been up to? I saw some hot takes hitting my YouTube feed this week, so I'm excited to hear more about what you've been doing as I troubleshoot my camera.
Excuse me one second while I take a drink.
Oh, he's taking a drink. Good sip, good sip. You can see it, but you can't see me. There you go.
Yeah, sorry. I still have like I had the flu 2 weeks ago. I still occasionally like my throat like I can't talk all the time. It's weird.
I get it.
Yeah. So I have rolled credits on Indiana Jones. I beat it in 14 hours, which I did all the main missions, obviously, and then I did all but 2 of the field work missions. I didn't like get all the collectibles and stuff because that's way too much. That's not a Kevin type of experience. I'm not going to every nook and cranny of every single semi-open world area and finding everything. But I really like this game. I put out a little bite-sized review. I think me and Sam Heaney and anyone else who's finished it. We're probably gonna do a spoiler cast review discussion about it. Talk about the story more in depth and just how we feel about Indiana Jones, the game overall. But I mean, my experience was very positive, and that was something I didn't expect. Like the stealth, the story, it all hit for me. So I was very pleasantly surprised about Indiana Jones. I'm glad you're liking it. I see other people, I see nothing but praise for this game, which makes me very happy because it feels like Xbox is ending the year on a high, you know?
I'm not muted. Oh yeah, for sure. It definitely feels like, I mean, it's been winning all kinds of awards too. I saw it pop up on, I think GameSpot won like best Xbox game of the year. And I'm like, yeah, I would say that's true because we haven't had too many. We haven't had too many to really talk about that much.
How many did we have to choose from here? But,
yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, it is indeed one of the best Xbox games probably of the generation. But yeah, I think that it's doing what it needs to do, and I think that it's better than anybody thought that it would be, including me. I know that we talked about it last week, but I was not expecting this game to do what it does right now. So that's great to see.
Yeah. So love that. 14 hours for me. I see some people online saying they've been playing it for 40 hours. I'm like, I can't imagine what you're doing in that game for 40 hours, but live your best life. If you're enjoying it, I'm happy for you. Next, I want to talk about Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. And before I get into it, thank you, Square Enix, for providing me a code for this game. So this was given to me. I was meant to get it last month when it launched. However, when I entered the code, it said already redeemed, and then we had quite an issue getting that sorted out. So I finally got the code. I played it for 4 to 5 hours probably. And I put out a little review on this one as well because I am not going to play anymore of this game. I think this game is quite bad, to be honest with you. And I know it's a remake of a NES or Super NES game, whenever it came, 1998, I think it came out, so whenever that console was. But oh boy, this is everything I don't like about old school RPGs. They don't tell you where to go ever, which they do fix in this one. There is a mode you can turn on where it'll give you the marker, and I instantly turned that one after getting frustrated, like just walking around for 30 minutes talking to random people. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? And then the next thing, probably the main reason I'm quitting this game, is it is brutally difficult. The enemies two-shot every party member right off the bat. There's no like easy, like you leave town, you're like, oh, I can fight some enemies for a little bit, level up. It's like, nah. These enemies are gonna push your poop in as well. And that's a little graphic, but they're ridiculous. So I dropped it to easy. I was like, okay, there's no way easy mode will be miserable. They two-shot you on easy mode still, but you can't die. So you just have 1 HP the entire game. Drove me nuts. And I was like, getting into these battles that would take 10 minutes on ultra fast because like can't do any damage to them. The economy in this game is completely broken. Like, you can't buy any weapons because nobody gives you any money. Just a bad overall game design. So sorry, I think I might never play a Dragon Quest game again.
Yeah, that's the thing about older RPGs that kind of turn me off a little bit, just because like they're old RPGs. That's just what they are. And so whenever you have something like that, it can definitely feel. I mean, even going back to like some of the old shooters, I guess that's the most comparable thing for me. Like going back to play Call of Duty 2, I'm like, oh well, it would be nice to have some modern amenities here that's not quite so challenging. So I can kind of empathize with that, but that's a bummer that not only did you wait forever, you also did not like it when you finally got it. That's like the worst possible outcome.
Yeah, it was one of those things because, like, I do think it's beautiful, like the HD 2D remake style, that Octopath Traveler look. Like, I think it's beautiful artwork. The score is great. There's like no story. It's like, oh, you're 16 now, time to go become a hero, and I'm like, but why? And then I was like, I don't know, figure it out. You'll stumble into some
Because why
hero
not? You
things.
might as well.
Yeah, you'll stumble into hero things. And I'm like, all right, let's go. But yeah, unfortunately, not for me. I beat Dragon Quest 11. That's my only other Dragon Quest experience before this. Everyone loves that game. It's got like a 95 on Metacritic or whatever. I thought that game was pretty bad as well. So, like I said, might be done with Dragon Quest.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, we talked about it earlier this year, but don't continue playing something that clearly isn't going to be something you enjoy playing. Like, we all have a very limited amount of time to play games, so pick what you want. Yeah, I get it.
Well, let's move into something I am enjoying to play. And code again provided by Ubisoft. They sent me the ultimate code for Star Wars Outlaws this week. I think they're
Ooh.
trying to get out more eyes on it. We talked about how it didn't hit their sales expectation. They put out a bunch of updates for the game. And Sam, I know you reviewed the game. Yeah, we
I
talked about it
did.
with you and Joe. This game's a blast right now. I don't know if the updates have like solved it, but I am really enjoying Star Wars Outlaws. I I like the stealth. The stealth is fun, just like distracting enemies with nicks and coming up, knocking them out. But then like even just in the regular combat, which I'm glad they've gotten rid of a lot of, from what I've read, the automatic fail stealth areas. So it's like
Hmm.
now if you get caught, it just turns into a gunfight, and I don't, the guns feel good to me. I'm blasting everyone in the head, like just fighting my way out of everything. Like, game's really fun to play. I don't really care that much about the story because I'm like, oh, this is a generic Star Wars story, and like I'm picking my favorite factions, right? Like the underworld groups. So it's like, oh, who do you want to like? And I was like, well, I immediately don't like the Pikes, so I'm just gonna kill all of you people. But like these Crimson people, I'm cool with them. So like I'm just gonna keep siding with them over and over again. I hit the achievement already for getting a faction the lowest it could possibly go.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I must be doing something wrong in this game. They're sending death squads out to hunt me down when I'm on my speeder bike in the open world areas. And I'm like, it's just a fun time. I'm like, right now, I'm like, this game, I don't know if the updates have fixed all the issues that people had with it, but I'm not seeing the low scores everyone's talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing, is that it didn't really get low scores, right? It got like a 8, which I think that it's a very fair assessment of Star Wars Outlaws. I was sitting right there as well. 7.58 is probably where I would have pinned it, but I have not gone back to play the updates that have made it more action focused, just because I've been busy with other stuff. But story wise, I mean, I liked it better than I liked Veilguard. Like, I think that the characters are a little bit more endearing. Like, I think
I
that
like
Nyx is
Kay.
yeah. Like IK is good. I like all of the entire cast of characters they've kind of got here in Star Wars Outlaws. I think they do it really, really well. Um, and I think that it's a victim of the Ubisoft. Like, there's a higher tax for a Ubisoft game for one reason or another, whether it's
Mhm.
just or not. There's a higher level of expectation that I think that the company really just can't hit ever. Like, I just think that the people have set the bar too high. And it's not even that the bar has been set too high. It's that it feels like people are always moving the goalpost a little bit, because now you've got like an open world Star Wars game that's competent, but they wanted to be better than Jedi Survivor. And it's like, well, that's a whole lot, you know? So, nonetheless, I'm glad you're enjoying it because there's a lot of fun to be had. Now, have you played Sabak? That's the real question.
I have played Sabak. I got second in my first. It was like a
Okay.
side mission or something to like try to beat the high roller table, and I
Yeah.
failed. And it took me. I was like, oh, I didn't quite understand because I thought I had a pair and then it wasn't a pair. But I was like, but the symbols look the same, and I was like, well, they kind of look the same. So I've gone to the settings and just turned it to numbers because I was like, I
Yep.
can't deal with all these weird settings, these weird symbols. I
Yeah.
have to go play Sabak for the. I have the wild card DLC. It came with the
Hmm.
Ultimate Edition, so I was doing that storyline quest right before we hopped on, and I have to go play Sabak for that. And I was like, ooh, I think we're going to do a different side quest right now because I'm not very good at Sabak.
Yeah, the more that I played it, the more that I really enjoyed it. And I'm not typically a big card games guy, but whenever you flip on the number mode, like Sabak becomes really fun, and I kind of like the flow of it. So I might go back and play more Sabak sometime this season. But yeah, man, there's a lot of fun to be had in Star Wars Outlaws. I think that the campaign has a lot of highs, and I think that probably since I played it, they fixed even more of the bugs that probably dampened my experience a little bit. So yeah, I'm glad you got a code, and I think that the wildcard DLC is going to be something that's fun because that's the one with Lando, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, so it's cool to have like characters like that, but yeah, man, there's a bigger conversation to be had about Ubisoft. Obviously, with X Defiant, I don't know if you want to talk about obviously the game shut down, but did you see the update? I made a video about it today.
No, I did. I didn't see your video today. No.
So Ubisoft is doing weird stuff, not to derail and go on a tangent,
No,
but
you're good.
yeah, I mean, they are doing weird stuff as per usual. So they have dropped not only season 3, which by the way, Kevin, in case you didn't know, you literally can't sign up to play X Defiant right now if
Yep.
you didn't play it before. So not only are the only people playing the game are the hardcore people that have basically been there from the beginning that were still playing it towards the end. Now they have not only an entire season of new content, they put out content from 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 that was already in the works. I downloaded an update today, Mr. Ainsworth, that was 60 gigabytes. I downloaded a 60 gig update for X Defiant that has 6 seasons of content in it. And once again, dead game. So it's just, man, Ubisoft 2025, please, somebody do something. Like, I don't know what we're doing over here, but that's so much money wasted and they're getting nothing in return. Like, they have put so much time and effort into it. And I'm glad that it's out. I'm glad they're putting it out there for people to enjoy. But like, the amount of money you spent to make this content that brings you nothing is crazy. That's just wild to me. Crazy.
I wish Concord had dropped 6 seasons worth of content before it went away.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, everybody wishes Concord would have dropped something, I think. And you know what outlasted X Defiant? Crash Team Rumble. And that's what really keeps me up at night. You know, that's what really makes me think that what are we doing in this world, man?
Sometimes I walk into my office, just look at that poster, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a game. That was a game. And it was funny because on Reddit this week, someone I made a tier list a year ago for Crash Team Rumble, you know, when the game came out.
Right.
And someone commented, said my tier list was wrong. I go, brother, this is from a year ago. Of course it's wrong. What are you talking about?
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's always fun to get the occasionally I'll get a comment on a YouTube short and it's like, you know, I'll be talking about like something's player count or whatever, and they're like, this isn't accurate, and then I just have to be like, brother, this video is from 2022. Yeah, how did you get here? Is this giving you the content? What did you do to find this?
I'm good with people going back and watching old content, but like, you gotta know you're watching the old content,
right? I mean,
like,
that's the thing. You got to be aware of the fact that, like, hey, maybe me talking about season 2 of Fortnite might not be relevant in 2024. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I have no idea.
Yeah, where are we dropping, boys?
Where are we dropping? Tilted? Still back? No.
Well, I couldn't. I almost tried to name a place in Fortnite, and I genuinely couldn't do it.
Have you heard the newest Fortnite stuff this week?
No, I haven't.
So obviously the talk of the town is that Skibbity Toilet is now in Fortnite. There's a Skibbity Toilet cosmetic or whatever. However, there's a giant block of ice now in the map, and Mariah Carey is thawing from it.
No, I did see that. I did see that. Yeah, I thought it was like a hard drive article. I thought for a minute.
No, that is a legitimate thing that's happening apparently. So, you know, at this point, within 2 weeks, we've got Mariah Carey and Skibbity Toilet in Fortnite. I don't know how we got here. I had to Google what Skibbity Toilet was because I'm almost 28 years old. I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
and I've said it publicly and I'll say it again. I make videos on a lot of stuff. I make videos on a lot of dumb stuff. I'm not going to make a video on Skibbity Toilet in Fortnite. I draw the line there. I have self-respect, man. I can't go into the new year knowing I brought that into the world. So,
Yo,
yeah.
Rick Davis, that Fortnite news gave me anal ulcers.
It was a wild thing to read because I'm like, there's no way they're actually doing this. And lo and behold, Tim Sweeney signed off on something that actually said that in writing, and there's a contract that has to do with that. So that's just crazy.
Oh, Mariah, you need the money that bad? Is Nick Cannon not giving you that child support? Like,
Ooh, I mean, I don't know.
It's Christmas time. All your songs are going back to the top. Like, this is
she's through the roof. This is the time.
All right, well, enough about Mariah Carey thawing from the Ice Age. Let's talk about some Xbox news. Before we get into the Game Awards, I want to chat about this one, basically the only piece of Xbox news we got this week, because spoilers, I'm not talking about this. This is an Xbox campaign. I feel like we've talked it to death. Like,
yeah, I've seen a lot of people still talking about it, and I think at this point it's kind of like, we all get it, we know, we understand that like anything can be an Xbox. So
Xbox.
Yeah, like everything's an Xbox. I understand. It's is mayonnaise an instrument? You know, you can make as many jokes as you want, but nonetheless, the marketing campaign has run. So I agree. We don't have to talk about it.
All right. So story number one, there's an Oblivion remake rumor going around, along with rumors about a possible Xbox developer direct next month. Spoiler alert, Xbox probably will have one. They've had one the last 2 years. Leaker Ecstasis fed into speculation by saying that Doom the Dark Ages will get a release date for May at the show in January, and that the previously rumored Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake is real and will be revealed next month at the event, adding that not only would the game be revealed, but it would actually release in 2025 as well. Sam, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake, could it be coming next year? What are you thinking?
I mean, that's exciting. I think that this is a rumor. Obviously, this is more detail, hypothetically, allegedly, than we've gotten in a while. But this Oblivion remake has been in the rumor mill for quite some time. I remember talking about it a couple of years ago. But I'd be interested just to learn like what they're doing. Is it on Unreal? Is it in a proprietary engine? Is it just getting upgraded to the Skyrim engine? Which, God, I hope it's not. I would assume not. Well, it'd be Creation Engine 4 or whatever they're on, 2, 3, the Starfield engine. But I would love to see this because I think that we need something to bide our time between now and Elder Scrolls 6, because I can't imagine that game is going to be in this generation. Like, that feels like at this point, just save it for a launch game next gen. I just don't think that's going to be in the cards, especially coming off of Starfield and whatnot. So, I mean, I think that's exciting. I would be very surprised to see it release in 2025. However, I would not put it past Xbox because we know how they do with strategy. Because right now we've got Avowed in the spring, which February, right? February is Avowed. So we've got Avowed in February. The Outer Worlds 2, allegedly sometime later on next year. Oblivion remake, I mean, that has to be like, there's also Fable as well. So you've got all these RPGs that kind of cannibalize each other. And I think that often you can have games that don't cannibalize each other and can still exist and come out near each other. But these are games that like clearly are going to share the same audience. So I just don't think that releasing an Oblivion remake in the middle of that is going to be good, because either that gets cannibalized and tossed to the wayside, or alternatively, the other games get hit because people are going back to that nostalgia hit. So I think I would save that for 2026, but it also, again, is Xbox and would not shock me to see 4 giant RPGs in 1 year.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how deep of a remake this is. Like, if this is from a ground up remake, I say hold that, especially if you have all those other games coming out next year. There's no need. You like you said, you be cannibalizing your own audience. Remake of Oblivion. Oh, Fable's coming out the next month. Like, people won't have time for both of those titles. They'll probably still be playing Avowed and the Outer Worlds if those come out before that. It is one of those things, like, you need to be smart with your release calendar. You need to understand, especially GTA 6 is also next year. So that immediately probably blocks out a whole quarter that people need to be wary of releasing games in. So 2025 seems a bit far-fetched for me. I don't think that's a smart business move unless it's more of a remaster, which I've seen some people say this could be closer to the Halo 2 Anniversary Edition game where you can toggle like the old graphics and then the new graphics by like hitting the back button or something, which that would be interesting to see. I don't know how much of a remake that would classify as, if they update, gameplay mechanics or what, but I am interested to see if this gets revealed. A long-standing rumor. We know it was on the Bethesda like timeline that got leaked during the whole FTC court case. So it probably is happening at some point. I just don't know if next year is when it's coming.
Yeah, I think it's got to happen at some point, just because there's been too much news for it not to be something that actually ends up happening. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what they have in store. When do you think that this developer direct is actually going to land? Like, do you see that happening
Ooh.
sometime soon?
I think it's end of January.
Into
Like
January, you're betting?
like the week of the 20th. Like that's if I had to guess.
Yeah, I saw a mock up on. I'm just gonna turn off my camera because it's just distracting me at this point.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I saw a mock up from, I think it's Video Game News is the actual name of the account on Threads, where they had mocked up like a January 25th, and they had called it a mock up and made it clear that it was a mock up. But I'm like, yeah, that feels kind of right. I mean, I know that the one that had the Hi-Fi Rush was kind of earlier in January, like the first 2 weeks, but we'll see if they go that early. I don't know. There's a lot going on with like, the inauguration here in the United States that'll be distracting from public conversation. So it's probably wise to wait until after all that news has died down and people can get back to focusing on the real issues in our country, which is an Oblivion remake on the way.
Yeah, and where and what an Xbox is.
Yeah, of
Really
course.
is the main. I'm hoping Trump says something about it at the inauguration, but
I mean, really, he doesn't really have a choice. I think you've got to say something.
he's got to address the Xbox situation. Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, if I'm calling my shot that week of the 20th, developer direct. Put in your calendars, everyone. Take some time off for work. See what happens. Why don't we jump into the main story for today's show, and that's the Game Awards recap. So last Thursday, we did a live react to the Game Awards, all 3.5 hours long. Sam, you were off probably doing something more beneficial with your time. Hopefully.
Yeah, so
anyway.
I have learned that anytime a event comes up, like an E3 showcase or anything, like it's fun to do the live reacts, and especially for you guys that have like the community and you can chat together and whatnot, like that's great. For me, I need to be multitasking because that's 3 hours of my life I'm never going to get back. So like I'm over there checking email, doing a little bit of work on the side. So I did not tune in for the watch along or anything like that, but yeah, man, those things are just super long. It's wild how long those events have become. It's crazy.
I like to picture you at work events and then you sneak off in the corner and like film like a short and then you just come back like nonchalantly. Like that's kind of how I like to picture you.
Oh yeah, I have never actually snuck off to film a short. However, I will say I was at my company's Christmas party whenever the Game Awards came on, and I didn't see anybody that I really knew, and so I literally left to come home and watch the Game Awards. So I'm like, why am I sitting here if there's no one here? I'm gonna go home and do what I want to do. I did bail on a company event, so if that counts, then I did do that.
Yeah, well, let's what were your general thoughts about the show? We don't have to go super long on it, but do you think it was a good show overall? Like good announcements? We'll get into them actual game by game, but I was a little I thought it was okay. Coming off our live react, we were like a little not super hype. I know everyone else on the internet seems to think it was the greatest show of all time. Didn't personally fill me with that much excitement. I thought like Xbox's showcase in the summer was 10,000 times better, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was good. I think that for me, there wasn't anything that really shocked me about it, except for things like Animusha. Like that was one that I kind of popped for, and I was like, "Oh my god, is that fill in the blank here?" I was trying to throw around like Neo 2 or Neo 3.
We said Neo on the stream, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, maybe it's Neo. What is it? What's going on here? And so then you get down to where it's like Animusha, and so that's neat to see that pop. But there wasn't like a Grand Theft Auto moment or anything like I think a lot of people thought there would be. And then we have known quantities, right? Like we knew The Witcher 4 was going to come. We knew it wasn't going to start Geralt. So there was that. Dying Like the Beast, that's something that popped up that really caught my eye. I enjoy looking at that kind of stuff, but it was just all known quantities more than anything. So it was fine. I think it got the job done, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
All right. Yeah. Well, most people, Rick, I know a 10 out of 10 show. He said a lot of people, like I said, I've talked to, they really liked it. Announcements weren't for me, like I said, but I'm glad everyone else enjoyed it. But I'm going to go through the actual announcements because there's a lot of things coming to Xbox next year and into the future. So the pre-show was there, I think they called it the opening act to try to make it a little more, not lesser than, we'll say. So first announcement, the Game Kitchen, the developers behind Blasphemous and Emu, which apparently that's how you pronounce it. I always thought it was Dotemu. But they've announced Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. It's a 2D side-scrolling Ninja Gaiden. I've only ever played the 3D ones, Sam, so I don't know if this is anything you're excited for.
It is not. You probably guessed correctly. That is not anything that I'm really into. But I do appreciate the fact that Ninja Gaiden is back. I've tried to play Ninja Gaiden 3 a couple of times. Not really been my thing, but it was cool to see this kind of start the show off on a note that has that nostalgia with something new. So I thought it was neat. I don't know if I'll ever get around to playing it, but I like the fact that it exists.
Yes. So that's coming to Xbox next year. Then we have a car packing game called One Move Away coming to series consoles in 2025. And the only thing I have to say about this is they should have called it Packing. And because I genuinely thought that would have been a better name because we have unpacking. This could have been
Right.
packing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I actually thought this was from the team that made Unpacking because it looked so similar, but nonetheless, it was not. So I agree that it has that same kind of energy. But I like these kind of games, very cozy, and I always like to play the game of Tetris when I'm packing the car. So I appreciate the fact that there's now a real game that does that.
Next up, a PvPvE stealth action immersive heist game called Thick as Thieves is coming. I wrote 2026, but it might actually be 2025. That might be a typo on my part. This game, I gotta say, I think this is going to go the way of Evolve and those type of required multiplayer games where you have like 4 people playing, all trying to fight each other in objective. Don't see this one being a huge success.
Yeah, no, I think it's a difficult time to release anything like this. And especially when you're talking about PvPvE, there's so many other games that are doing that same kind of thing right now that it's just difficult to break into that space. So I agree. It's probably not going to be the strongest contender, but we'll see what comes of it.
Bandai Namco announces Shadow Labyrinth coming in 2025. This is a Metroidvania where you play as some sort of like demon, but Pac-Man is along with you. He's like a little just yellow blob floating behind you, and occasionally he'll turn big and destroy the whole stage. Not the direction I expect Pac-Man to go, or I will say not the direction I even want Pac-Man to go. But it looked like a good game. It's only $30. I don't know if I'm like itching for it, but very interesting.
Yeah, I think this is one of the weirdest games that I saw from the show because I had absolutely no idea where it was going from the moment the trailer dropped until it was done. But lo and behold, here we are. I also agree this is not the direction that I want Pac-Man to go. It's interesting how this is tied into Secret Levels. You saw that too, I assume. And so this was actually in the works before Secret Levels, but Secret Levels effectively acted as a prequel to this game. So I think it's interesting they're doing that, like the multimedia approach, because I do think the Pac-Man has to evolve to maintain its, like, I guess, cultural relevance. But I would have rather seen it go in the Tetris Effect connected kind of direction, or more Pac-Man Championship Edition kind of stuff, rather than like, hey, let's make a really weird acid trip of a Pac-Man game. But maybe that's why I'm not in charge. I don't know.
I think Pac-Man World 2 is the call, the 3D platformer, because I played Pac-Man World Repack when it came out, and that was pretty good time.
Yeah, I remember playing the older Pac-Man games back in the day, and they were a very good time. So the 3D platformer kind of one. So I enjoyed those.
Next up, one of my games of the show, Slow Clap, the developers behind Sifu, announced a Rematch, a football soccer game coming in 2025. And this is going to sound stupid when I say it, but stick with me, okay? It's Rocket League, but without cars.
I know. I saw that, and I was like, "Is this just soccer? Isn't this just what this is? Is it just a soccer game? That's crazy."
Yes, it is a soccer game, but you can bounce it off the walls. I don't think it's 11 on 11. I think it's like 3v3 or 5v5. So it's a smaller size thing, but you can do like sweet moves and then again bounce it off the wall. So it's kind of got that futsal, but like exaggerated type thing. So I'm definitely checking this one out. Not the game I expected from the seafood developers, though. Very, very weird pivot.
Yeah, no, it was a very unexpected kind of thing in general. So I had no idea you could not have paid me to guess that was going to be the game that I saw. But okay.
All right, let's get into the main show proper. Those were all the pre-show announcements coming to Xbox. So I want to just give a shout out here. Melina Jurgens wins Best Performance for Senua Saga Hellblade 2. I gave a clap. She helped me clinch the victory for our Game Awards predictions as well. So I won by one. Or I won by 1 point. But phenomenal performance, even though Harrison Ford butchered her name.
He did. That was really awkward whenever he was like, Melina, what did he say?
Melinda Jurgens.
Yeah, it was really bad. But then we were all like, yeah, good job, Grandpa. Like, I'm happy to see you here. He made so much money from just being there, by the way. I don't know what they paid him, but boy, he really raked it in.
When the entire time he's on stage, I was like, this guy's Red Hulk. Like he
yeah,
can barely move. What?
Yeah, CGI is a beautiful thing, man. CGI is a very beautiful thing.
First big announcement from the main show, though. The Witcher 4 from CD Projekt Red gets a cinematic reveal trailer. It's going to star Ciri as the next Witcher. I have never played, well, I shouldn't say that. I've never beat any Witcher game. I've tried 2 and 3. I don't like them, which is the case for me and CDPR games in general. I tried Cyberpunk, didn't like that either. So this didn't exactly do anything for me, but I understand in the gaming world that this was a huge announcement.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. This was a very important one. And I think that the only thing that I would have rather seen is kind of pulling what they did with the Outer Worlds too, where it's like, show me some gameplay. But I get that you have to kind of build up the hype a little bit and get the ball rolling on showcasing what exactly you've got working on. But I didn't see anything that got me worried about the future of the game. Like, I think it looked great. I think that the way they're kind of building the world and they've established Ciri as like this character that's core to the gameplay experience and the narrative, just like she is in some of the books, from what I've read, because I haven't read the books, but it seems like they're really sticking close to the source material. So more of that. I think they're moving in the right direction, and I know that's a contentious hot take online within the neckbeard communities, but lo and behold, I think we're doing really well.
I saw someone tweet out a breakdown comparing the Witcher 3 character model to the Witcher what they showed here, and they were like, in the Witcher 3 she has a bigger forehead and a shorter
Oh yeah.
chin, emphasizing her feminine features, and here they've elongated her jaw, and I'm like, what are you guys? I was like, almost the same picture, she just looked a little older. I was like, people have way too much time. Like, get off the internet.
Yeah, it's crazy how much people are hyper focused on the little nuances around character design that ultimately take away from the core fundamental focus of like, this is a really good looking game and the character looks really good. And yeah, I mean, it comes down to touch grass. These are the guys that stare at women on the subway. Like, stop being weird and just like be a normal human being, be a functional human being. That's all I'm asking. Stop being strange. I like the fact that I always see these posts, by the way, because Joe is publicly dunking on them on a social media platform of choice where he's just trashing them.
Exactly why I see all
That's the only reason I see any of this, because I'm not in these communities that talk about it this way. But man, I just love the fact that Joe is the one that's dunking on these people.
And I can't not click on what Joe's like quote tweeting or something. I just got I got to see, and then that'll bring me down a rabbit hole, especially when you get someone defending them in the comments, so telling Joe why they're wrong or something. I'm like, oh, I gotta click. You see what you got going on over here, and then
yeah. No, I'm very thankful that I'm still on my anti-Twitter. I'm good, thank you. I don't need this in my life kind of kick. Yeah. But when I do pop in, it is great to see somebody getting roasted. Very nice.
One last thing about The Witcher I wanted to talk about was the fact that it said at the bottom, it was being rendered on an unannounced NVIDIA RTX card. And I'm like, bro, this game's like 2028, 2029. This is crazy.
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking about in a video. I'm like, if you think this is coming out on an Xbox Series X, well, actually,
Oh,
let's back up. I said, if you think this is coming out on PS4 and you're about to drop a comment saying, is this coming out on PS4? Brother, I got bad news for you. That's barely coming out on a PS5.
yeah.
Okay, you got to reel it back in. That's probably next gen, I would say almost guaranteed. If not, it's going to be a very stunted version of Cyberpunk like we got with the cross gen stuff that they had with that. But yeah, man, that's going to be a beefy game that takes a whole lot of power.
We're not going to talk about it because it's not coming to Xbox. But Naughty Dog revealed their game at the end of the show, right? Intergalactic, the
Yep.
Heretic Prophet, or whatever. Do which one comes first, that game or The Witcher? Because I've seen some people think that The Witcher is coming first, and I'm like, no chance.
I think The Witcher comes first. I
What?
do. Yeah, I think The Witcher comes first because they had that they put out a plan, right, of like how they're kind of tackling all their projects, and so CD Projekt Red has like I feel like they've got deadlines and strategies, whereas not that Naughty Dog and PlayStation don't, but it feels like CD Projekt after the disaster of Cyberpunk has really locked it down and been like, okay, here's what we're doing and when we're doing it, and this is the timeline that we're on. That's the kind of energy that I get from them with the stuff they're doing, because there's that like Monster Hunter kind of game that they've got in the works as well. I believe they've got a couple of other projects coming. The next Cyberpunk, the future of that. So I think they've got a lot of stuff, but also to your point of like they've got a plan. Is it going to be like, hey, in 2029 we released The Witcher 4, in 2039 we released Cyberpunk 2087, or, you know, that very well could be the case. We could be talking about these games whenever we're 50. I don't know.
Oh God, so old. No, I firmly I think Intergalactic's like 2026, and The Witcher is years after that. If based on how I'm feeling currently.
The crazy thing is that I feel like Intergalactic being 2026 is like, that sounds very far off, but then you're like, oh, that's like
Like a
probably
year
400
away.
days. That's like 400 or 500 days. And that's horrifying. But The Witcher 4, I don't know, man. When you talk about it like that, maybe The Witcher 4 2026 feels like a reasonable, like, that's coming soon. But if they're just showing off cinematic trailers, that definitely gave the energy of like, hey, you're going to talk about this for 5 years and then the game will come out. Like, that's kind of where I'm at, because I mean, the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer is what, 8 years old at this point?
Unfortunately, something like that.
Yeah, it came out. The Elder Scrolls 6 trailer dropped on June 10th, 2018. And here we go, going into 2025.
We're never getting that game.
Oh my God. Yeah, just I know that it's the way they get funding and stuff, but like, man, if you can just like show that behind closed doors and just announce stuff when you're ready, that'd be great.
Well, let's keep it rolling. I think we said all we can about The Witcher. So, The Killing Floor 3 is coming March 2025. Great. This cool announcement.
It does look very good. As the guy who built the gaming PC last week, this is definitely going to be like the gaming PC game for me, because I love some COD zombies, and this has that same kind of energy to it. So I enjoyed Killing Floor 2, and my friend enjoys it as well. So we'll probably be getting in on that. But yeah, good looking game.
From Software showed up with a new standalone emphasis on standalone game, Elden Ring Night Rain, coming 2025. It's a co-op action roguelite. They didn't use the word, but it's a roguelite. You essentially have like 3 days while a circle closes in on you to beat the boss, and then every time you die, you get like new roles and the pre-built characters. Not for me. I think it's an interesting idea. I thought it was really cool how, like a week prior, they were like, oh, we have no plans for Elden Ring 2. We're interested in growing the Elden Ring IP though. And then they were like, gotcha.
Yeah. I thought this was a really well done drop. And this is one of those things, much like Onimusha, where I was like, oh, I didn't expect to see more Elden Ring. And it's crazy because they'll be nominated for Game of the Year again. That's wild. But Elden Ring is something that, like, I've tried to play it probably 2 or 3 times. It's not my kind of game. And I'll probably do what I did with like some of the other, what did I get into? Liza P, where I just like totally dove into that world and really spent a lot of time with it. But I'm just not in that mindset right now. But my fiance adores Elden Ring, big Souls person. So I know that I'm going to be buying this on day one so that she can play it. And I'm glad to see it also coming out on old gen stuff, I guess, because it kind of straddles that gap a little bit. However, at the same time, I'm like, okay, so like, when are we actually going to, move on to the next thing? Because like, it's just crazy that that Elden Ring is getting like a semi sequel, if you will, even though that's not what it is. But it's a new Elden Ring game that's not taking advantage of like all of the new hardware capabilities and whatnot. But maybe they just don't need it. I don't know. However, congratulations to the people that are still hanging on to that day one 2015 PS4 that's got duct tape on it. You've got at least one more solid big game coming, so that's that's something to celebrate, I guess.
Nah, I'm genuinely convinced PS6 is going to come out, and they're still going to be releasing PS4 games.
I have never seen anything quite like this where it's like, I talked about it on a video a couple of weeks ago for Marvel Rivals where I'm like, okay, this is the time the mainline game that looks like it should be able to run on PS4 is moving on. All right, we're all in on next gen. You've got college football that's moved on to next gen. And then they're like, hey, by the way, new Elden Ring game running on PS4, running on day one Xbox One. It was barely more powerful than a DVR. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? This is crazy. I've never seen a
baby.
generation.
Let's do it.
It's crazy. Whoever bought a day one Xbox One and is stuck with that and is cool with the experience they're getting, that is the bang for your buck of a lifetime. Like
Mine sounded like a jet engine by the time I got rid of it.
You have milked that thing, and I'm proud of you. So good on you if you're still playing on day one Xbox One and you're booting up Elden Ring Night Rain, because I'm gonna have to pray for you on that one. That's gonna be a crazy time.
Gen Design, the studio behind Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian, have announced Project Robot. The first time one of their games is coming to Xbox. This trailer did absolutely nothing for me. I was like, oh, it's the guys that made the game with the big monsters. They're making one with big robots now. Okay, cool.
I mean, I hate to be the guy. I love Shadow of the Colossus. I'm a big Shadow of the Colossus
fan. I knew
fan.
you were gonna say this.
I love Shadow of the Colossus, man. That is a good game. The remake from Blue Point, very good. And I really enjoyed that in particular. But I also like that element of not Tears of the Kingdom, but Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I like that whole kind of like climbing giant thing and accomplishing task. But this definitely popped. Like I really enjoyed seeing this, so I'll have this on my wish list for sure. Very good looking game for me.
Xbox shows up next with Obsidian showing off a new trailer for The Outer Worlds 2 coming in 2025, which was a surprise for everyone. They also have announced a PlayStation 5 port, which brings us into Sam Heaney's question. It says comments have been made about a quote case by case and teams not being ready for multiple SKU development, resulting in some games still being exclusive. With the announcement of The Outer Worlds 2 day one at the TGAs and Pentiment and Grounded from Obsidian already being ported, I love both of your thoughts on why we think Avowed is an exclusive when Pillars of Eternity is also on PlayStation and Obsidian have multi-plat capabilities. Is it because it's a new IP? Are they just seeing what happens? Is it something else?
I do think they're probably just seeing what happens. That's where I'm at with it. I think they're testing and learning. And I shot out a thread that got a good bit of traction earlier this week, but I feel like The Outer Worlds 2 is really the direction that Xbox needs to move in, where I love it because the focus is on the game and how good the gameplay looks and actually what we're seeing and what people are going to be playing. And it's not, oh, you can play it here, but you can't play it there, or I'm better than you because I have this box, or it's also on PC, so it counts as a yada, yada, yada. Like, that's not what the focus of the conversation has been on. And so I want to see more of that, where they can lean more into that whole side of getting back to the games, less about the box, more about the experience. So I would like to see more of The Outer Worlds too. And I think that Avowed at this point, I don't know why they're not doing the multi-plat release right at the beginning, but if anything, I would say that's part of that class of games that were kind of the old class, where whenever we had the Xbox showcase from a couple of years ago, right after, I guess it would be the 2022 showcase when this might have been shown off. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but whenever this was shown off, it was kind of like the Xbox game. It was right there alongside Halo Infinite as one of the announcements, if I remember correctly, or like shown off alongside it. So this is one of those ones that people still have that console affinity for, but The Outer Worlds 2 has never really had that kind of expectation. So I think it's a level of like expectation combined with testing and learning and seeing what works. But I would like to see more Outer Worlds 2 approaches than I would Avowed. I think that just makes healthier IP overall and more focus on the IP in the long term. And it takes nothing away from the Game Pass players either. So my 2 cents anyway.
Yeah, I still see some people, they have the mentality, well, everything is coming. And then Matt Booty is like, oh, it's still case by case basis. Feels like there's no red lines. So people are like, oh, the messaging mixed. And I was like, the messaging is pretty clear in my opinion, where they say everything can go. That doesn't mean everything will go. It doesn't mean everything will go at once. Doesn't mean everything will go day one. Like I would not be surprised if Avowed gets a port by the end of the year, to be honest, like 2025, I could see Avowed going to PlayStation, right? Like makes complete sense of all Obsidian's games. But I just looked it up. Avowed was revealed July 2020 during the Xbox Game Showcase where they showed off Halo Infinite, and right leading up to the Xbox Series release. And it looked much different back then. Obviously, they changed the graphical style,
Oh
but
yeah.
uh, I don't know why Avowed isn't. If I had to guess, I do think it is a lot of the games that were announced at that time when their strategy was, hey, we're going to make a bunch of exclusives with the studios we bought. We're going to buy Bethesda, make exclusives with them. We're going to buy Activision. Oh wait, the core is yelling at us, and now it's too late. We need to shift strategy. So like, it does feel like something that was decided, and they just were like, don't worry about the PS5 right now. We'll get that port. Outer Worlds 2, though, like the Outer Worlds was on the first one. They probably started development Outer Worlds 2 like probably before Avowed at this rate. like
Yeah, I think they had said that it took. Who knows what's a joke and what's not in that trailer, but they were like, it's taken 3 times as long to make as the first game. So if you extrapolate that out, that's a pretty good long development cycle. I don't know how long exactly, but that's a pretty good long while.
Yeah. So I'm excited for the Outer Worlds 2. It looks really good. I've never played the Outer Worlds 1. I'm gonna hold my hands up and say that. I'm gonna play Avowed, and then I was like, oh, I want to check out the Outer Worlds though. So I went to Game Pass, and I was like, oh, the Outer Worlds is there, but it's not the definitive edition, whatever the Spacer's Choice edition. And I
I've
was like,
complained about this on the show before, by the
have
way.
you? Have you?
Yeah, I've talked about it. I've talked about it.
So I was like, this is supposed to be some weird thing because Private Division published it or whatever. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I own the Outer Worlds on PC on one of these launchers. So I installed a little app this week called Play Night on my PC. I don't know if you're
I've heard of
familiar.
that.
It,
Yeah, I've
it
heard of that.
it acts as like armory crate for my ROG Ally. It takes every game launcher I have and just puts it into one app, so I could just see every game I have installed no matter what. And I do have the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. I think it's for Epic. So it's like, all right, I guess I'm playing this on PC. So I installed that. I will get to it eventually.
I wonder if I have it on Epic. I would assume that I do.
If you claim all the
But
free games, I mean,
yeah, I typically claim all the free games. I do think I fell off of it a couple of years ago, but I'm installing it again on Windows right now. I also want to play the Spacer's Choice Edition because that's like the definitive edition that has more than just the DLC. Like it's actually an upgrade. It's like a remaster.
yeah.
So I definitely want to play it there. But I was going to cave and just play more of the Outer Worlds on the Xbox Series X because I just had the Game Pass version, like the standard one. And I never finished it. I played probably like a couple of hours of it, but back then I wasn't really feeling the RPG approach. So good time to go back to it. I'm excited to check it out before 2 launches for sure.
Yeah. I was like, I got I got Outlaws, the code, the day I installed it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play Outlaws first because I don't want to burn myself out on Obsidian RPGs with Avowed so close. So maybe like middle of next year, I'll try that before Outer Worlds 2 launches. But let's keep rolling here. Hazelight revealed their next game, Split Fiction, is coming March 6th, 2025. This game, probably the best game I saw at this whole showcase, dude. I am so excited for Hazelight's next game. This looks amazing. Joseph Ferris had me dying the whole day. He's like, oh, then they grow into full ass dragons. I was like, bro, you know how to sell a game.
He does. Yeah, he's a very charismatic individual. I will say, like, this game didn't really do that much for me in particular. Not that I didn't like It Takes Two, and not that I didn't like the A Way Out. I played A Way Out with my friend, and it was a good time. I love the way they do stuff where like you buy one copy, 2 people can play. Yep. I think that's a really well done, friendly, gamer centric approach. But I don't know, man. It's just not doing a whole lot for me personally, and I can't really tell you why. Like, I like the concept of like, hey, this dude's taking over people's minds. You got to break out of your own creative stuff. Has probably some AI undertones in the narrative as well. But yeah, I might check it out at some point, play through it, maybe with a fiance or a friend. But it's not like, I'm vying for it, really itching on day one to get into it. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
It's an EA original, so it'll come to Game Pass eventually if you want to, not spend $50.
Yeah, that might be the move. That might be the move. I also want to let the audio listeners know that not only have I reinstalled software on a second webcam, it also has a low frame rate. So I know that it's the software now. I know that for the audio listeners, I've been troubleshooting and struggling for this entire show, and I'm giving up at this point. I'm just giving up.
Borderlands 4 got a gameplay trailer coming 2025. It looks like Borderlands. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I think that Borderlands 4 sounds good, looks good. From what we've seen, it's going to be more Borderlands. And I like the article that came out where they're going to try to integrate less toilet humor into the way that the writing is. Because I would love to see, I don't even want to call it a more grounded Borderlands, because I definitely don't want that, but like something that's a little bit more serious and not quite so like, handsome Jack, claptrap, like I want something that's a little bit more of a game that I can get into, have some emotional connection to. So I'm hoping for a more serious Borderlands, but we'll see.
Let's rapid fire the next few. Clive Rossfield from Final Fantasy 16 is coming to Tekken 8, so you got a character from a game you can't play on this console on a game you can. Splitgate 2 trailer coming for 2025. Cool. Looks like more Splitgate. Mecha Break. I put in quotes, where the hell has this game been? Coming spring 2025. I'll believe it when I see it. And I don't really have much more to say about those three.
How dare you blow past Splitgate 2 like that? I cannot believe my ears.
Fan?
Oh, dude, I'm a big Splitgate guy. I love Splitgate. I mean, keep in mind, I was a struggling Halo fan before Infinite dropped. So Splitgate was like that, it was that filler game. So I played a lot of Splitgate. I have access to the beta, but I didn't have a PC good enough to run it well before whenever they did a beta test. So I'll jump into the next thing that they've got cooking so I can give that game a shot. But I'm excited to see what they do with it. But I don't want to dwell on it too long. I know we got a lot of things to run through, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it looks cool. Looks like we're Splitgate. I can't edit the document right now for some reason. Next up, Sega and RGG had two announcements. First, a new Virtua Fighter game is in development. Completely took me by surprise. I was like, "Oh, RGG must be a Yakuza project." And they're like, "Now we're making a fighting game." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then they also announced Project Century, which looks like a Yakuza game just set in 1915 or whatever.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw the Yakuza game. I thought that was a really interesting one. It just kind of caught my eye visually. I'm going to be interested to see what that actually plays like whenever the time comes. But yeah, I mean, I think that there was nothing that was like super crazy about the Virtua Fighter side. The only Virtua Fighter memory that I have is that was a game that I played the demo of on a PS3 in like 2008 in Walmart. Like that's my only core Virtua Fighter memory. But good luck fighting against what I would consider to be like one of the peaks of Mortal Kombat and Tekken and Street Fighter. Like, I don't know what Virtua Fighter is going to bring that's really different, especially compared to Tekken, which now has Clive. So yeah, good luck. Have fun.
I played the last Virtua Fighter that's on PS4 for a little bit, and I was like, this game does nothing interesting at all.
Was that a remaster, if I remember correctly?
Might have been a remaster, but I was like, you have so many fighting games, especially out there, pushing the boundaries, doing unique mechanics, and whatever that Virtua Fighter game was like, yeah, it's a fighting game. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter 5 was on PS3. Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown. It was still 5, but it was like the remaster remake kind of thing. And it got an update 6 days ago, allegedly. That's crazy. Okay.
I'll believe it. Saber has announced Turok Origins. They made Turok third person. That looks like it could be fun. I
love this. I love it.
So the trailer comes out, I see Universal, and I was like, oh, what is this? And then like people are like, oh, it's a Jurassic Park. Kyle goes, oh, I think it's Turok, and then it shows third person. I'm like, nah, it's not Turok. And it says Turok. He's like, I told you. I'm like,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good to me. I got some like flack in the Instagram comments whenever I was posting a video about this, because they were like, what they do, look how they massacred my boy, was the general vibe of like a third person Turok game.
Yeah, but it's a fun game.
Yeah. Also, I've been saying Turok wrong for the past probably 15 years. I've also only had to say the word Turok on like 5 occasions in my life. But I've been calling it Turek. Like I've just been like kind of going on a soft O. Yeah. So I had to call myself out and be like, I'm sorry, Turok, my bad. I apologize.
Like when I would joke and say conquered instead of Concord.
Yes.
Conquered.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like, you're not really wrong, but you are. Like, that's kind of the vibe of the whole Turok thing. So, yeah, I'm excited about this game. I think it looks good. I like the fact that it's not like a survival-esque kind of approach, because I don't need another arc in my life. But yeah, man, I'm down to shoot some dinosaurs any day of the week.
All right, rapid fire these ones. Warframe Battle World are getting updates along with Hunt Showdown, which is getting a Post Malone Circus event because I don't know what the world is anymore.
Yeah, it's fair. I have fun with all those. Warframe 1999, probably going to check that out because it looks interesting. But I was also told, hey, don't take gateway drugs. So I might not. I don't know. We'll find out.
Capcom announces Onimusha Way of the Sword coming 2026. This game announced maybe a little too early, but certainly an exciting announcement.
Yeah, it was an exciting one. I've never played an Onimusha game, but I will also say that I was shocked at the reception of this because people were just like online. This trailer has so many likes on it. Like I did not realize that this community was actually still out there really wanting something like this. But it looks very good. I'm into it.
Yeah. The first Berserker Kazan releasing March 27th, 2025. I don't think this game's going to do well. Just
Yeah.
I have no hope for this game.
I need to refresh myself on the gameplay because I remember looking at it and I was like, oh, this is the one with like the mixed art style, right?
Yeah, it's a Souls game, but every time they've showed it, every time they showed gameplay, the frame rate has been atrocious, and now they've resorted to just showing cinematic trailers.
But isn't the frame rate isn't that like a artistic choice where it's supposed to look like cell shady?
I don't know if it is. It doesn't look good to play.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that it really depends on the final gameplay. I think that the style of this game has potential to it. But it really depends on what the overall experience actually delivers. I'm looking at this trailer from the Game Awards now, looking back, it's really one of the better trailers of the night in terms of CGI. But I definitely want like 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay. Show me what this is actually going to be like whenever the time comes. But I hope it does well. I like the way it looks, but yeah, it's just one of those ones where it's got to do something to stand out. Otherwise, it's going to kind of blend in, especially when in a year where you've got Elden Ring getting like a single player / co-op DLC kind of thing.
Techland announces Dying Light: The Beast is coming summer 2025. They give us a new trailer as well. If you like Dying Light, this is certainly it looks cool. I played the first Dying Light for a little bit. It's an enjoyable game, just not like one I'm going to stick with and finish.
Yeah, we're in a weird time where like we're in between Dead Island, but like we finally got 2. So what's the next thing for that? Obviously,
I didn't like 2 at all.
yeah. Well, Techland spun off from the original Dying Light team whenever they got stuck in the development quagmire of what that game turned out to be. So now they've made their own thing, and Dying Light's popping off. Now, full disclosure, I did an ad for Dying Light: The Beast a couple of days ago, but I really do think this game looks very good. I'm excited to check it out, and people are popping for like Kyle Crane coming back. You know, it's doing a lot for the fans. So congrats to them for getting a game that they really, really love.
Overcooked developers announced their new game Stage Fright. Cute trailer, didn't actually show the game though. Like,
yeah,
would have loved to see the game.
Yeah, it would have been nice. I was watching the Game Awards with my fiance, and this was the only trailer where I looked over. I was like, "You remember how mad we got playing Overcooked?" Like that was the only take. Like I don't care about this game at all. I'm never going to play it. But it was one of the. We played Overcooked during a snowstorm, and we were stuck in the apartment for like 3 days, and it was just us yelling at each other about like various kitchen situations we were in. It was a good time, but I probably wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, I tried playing that once with my fiance as well, and she was like, "You're letting the pan burn. Stop cutting onions." I'm like, I'm getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, I was getting overwhelmed as well.
Arc System Works reveals Double Dragon Revive is coming October 23rd, 2025, calling their shot a year out.
That is super specific.
Double Dragon, it's cool. It's back. I don't particularly think it looked very good, which is a shame because I like Arc System Works, but it is what it is, I suppose.
Yeah, this does nothing for me, so have fun. Good luck.
Sega announced Sonic Racing Crossworlds with a 5-second trailer of Shadow getting into his car. Dope.
Cool.
For my Christmas gift, I asked my fiance, I was like, "Can you take me to see Shadow or Sonic the Hedgehog 3?" And she was like, "No." I'm like, "But it's Christmas." I was like, "That's what I want for Christmas."
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just can't get into Sonic. Like I've tried. I want to go back and finish Frontiers because that's like a weird one that almost feels like a 2006 PS3 game just got trapped on like modern hardware. But yeah, I just can't get into Sonic. I did love Shadow the Hedgehog back in the day where he had guns.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I love Shadow the Hedgehog back on the PS2, but I haven't played basically anything other than Shadow the Hedgehog on PS2.
Shadow the Hedgehog is considered one of the worst games like ever.
I loved it, man. It
I
was
loved
great.
it too.
I really enjoyed it.
All right, last two announcements for Xbox anyway. Ad hoc Studio made a former Telltale developers announced Dispatch, where you play as a dispatch caller, but you dispatch superheroes instead of cops. Uh, Aaron Paul is the voice actor, and he was doing some weird flirting with Laura Bailey right before they announced it. It was really awkward. I was like,
They
"You're
looked
both
very
married."
coupley. They looked very coupley up there. I will say that. I love the look of this game. I am 100% playing this. Like,
Oh,
it looks
really?
very, very good. I know Alana Pierce is in it. I love Alana Pierce and the stuff that she does on
Jacksepticeye's in
YouTube.
it.
Yeah, and you've got like who's the other guy? Who did you say just now?
Aaron, Jacksepticeye, Aaron
I didn't know
Paul.
Jacksepticeye was in it, but there's that.
Yeah,
Isn't Kumail, whatever his name is, the guy that was he's like a DC or a Marvel guy?
he's in Intergalactic.
I'm thinking about the wrong thing then. Anyways, this is a stack cast of people, and yeah, celebrities are getting more into games. So I'm very excited to play Dispatch, and yeah, it looked very, very good. I like the art style. I like the concept. It was kind of giving what was it called? Invincible. That was the vibe that I was getting
Yes,
from it. Is Invincible. I really like Invincible, so
me
I'll
too.
probably like this.
Me too. I like Invincible as well. Capcom announced Okami is getting a sequel. It's in development now. Uh, Hideki Kamiya left Platinum to go make Clover or Clovers. Whatever his old studio was, he
It's
added or
Clovers.
okay, he added an S to he remade his old studio, but added an S.
Yeah,
And they're making an Okami sequel. That's awesome. I know Bree was super excited. She was freaking out. This might have been her best announcement of the night, but I've never played Okami. I've never personally had an interest to play Okami. Everyone's telling me now to play Okami. It's like on
pretty
sale for
good.
$4. So
Yeah, it's a good game. I played Okami back in the day on the PS2, and I haven't touched it in years, but I have really good memories of it. So I'll probably play this when it comes out. I don't know if it'll be a day one for me, but I think about the state of the industry right now, and I'm like, man, I really hope Capcom can continue supporting a studio that spends a lot of time making obviously this is a different situation because he's doing his own thing over there with Clovers. But like, I hope that this turns a profit and it's not just
mhm.
one of those like, oh, that's neat. Anyways, we're laying off 300 people because I just don't like, much like Animusha, I don't know how big the Okami audience is. So like, are they going to show up for this? I assume they will because it's Okami. But yeah, it's cool that it exists. I just hope it goes well. I always worry in today's day and age.
I saw they're selling Okami and Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. It's like a bundle now because I
Good
guess
move.
Kunitsugami had like some Okami DLC stuff, and they're like, I don't know. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And that is it for all of the Xbox announcements. We already touched on Intergalactic, which ended the show. That's a PlayStation announcement. We do have two questions, and then we'll round out the show here. So Ghostly Guides wrote in, says, "Is it time we just stop award shows and press conferences after another, in my opinion, stinker of a Game Awards? I'd rather games just be announced in a YouTube video or something."
No, unfortunately not, because these games would never see the light of day if it was all just announced in a YouTube video, because you're going to have 8 million people watching the Intergalactic trailer, and then the Okami sequel is going to get 4 views, or, like, I'm exaggerating there, but
No, I get it.
yeah. Yeah, you've got to have these award shows and press conferences, and some of it's, occasionally you'll have all filler, no killer, and then vice versa. But it's all subjective, at the end of the day, or subjective. I always get the two mixed up. But no, these things aren't going anywhere anytime soon. It had record viewership this year. Like, this was the most of
Yeah.
any game awards. So like, if anything, it's going to continue getting bigger. And we're 10 years into this. So I don't think I don't think they're going anywhere.
Let's just make it a little shorter. Like 3.5 pushing 4 hours is a bit much. Like if we could get it to like 2.5, I think that's like a really good spot. Press conferences, no. Like I think Xbox's showcases have been really good in general. These announcements weren't for me. Other people seem really excited. I like seeing the award show, like a lot of the parts of people winning and speeches. This year, I felt like they gave more time, but I felt like the speeches were worse in general. But it is what it is. But no, these aren't going anywhere because, as you said, 160 million people watched this year or something, and 100 million watched the Super Bowl. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. I think they are definitely here to stay, and I agree with the. I want to see. I don't know if I want to see more of the awards or not, but I like the way that it was kind of focused on more this year. It felt like people had more freedom to kind of say what they wanted a little bit and kind of be critical of the industry, but not to the point of like, all you guys are laying people off. Like it wasn't that blunt, but it was a little bit more of like a, hey, we're reading the room a little bit. We know what's going on. And that was kind of nice to see, even though we know that Jeff's playing within the boundaries of like, hey, these people pay the bills and I need bills paid. So it's a weird catch-22 he's in.
Terribo wrote in, says, with the continued growth and success of the Game Awards, how important is it that platform holders utilize it? How important is it for platform holders to utilize the biggest gaming event of the year?
I don't know if it's really important at all, because I think that Xbox and I'll say PlayStation is definitely, even Nintendo even more so. I would say like Nintendo and PlayStation are positioned, and I think Xbox is also well positioned to be like, hey, you're showing up next Tuesday and we've got news for you. So tune in. And this is a developer direct, or this is a Nintendo Switch 2 announcement, or a Mark Cerny giving me ASMR about what powers a PS5. Like, they can drop announcements like that and people come to them. So I don't really think it's important. I think if anything, the Game Awards and game events like this are really more impactful for the smaller games that don't have that kind of power, and where you can say, hey, Dying Like the Beast is coming out next year, here's a trailer for it, or whatever kind of, Helldivers 2, you got your guy coming out on stage for Democracy and doing like that kind of thing. Like, that's where these games can kind of thrive, where a platform holder can do whatever they want whenever they want and announce the next big game here and there. So I think that's where these things shine.
I feel pretty similarly. Like, Nintendo didn't even bother showing up. I mean, to be fair, they show up when they want to show up. But
Yeah.
like a Nintendo Direct, people know, like, that's gonna get people excited. If Nintendo says we're at the Game Awards, they're like, oh, they're probably gonna show a Donkey Kong HD trailer or something. It
Right.
doesn't draw the hype, and it shouldn't be like that. But that's the power platform holders have. Like, PlayStation announces a showcase, Xbox announces a showcase. Everyone knows, everyone gets excited for that specifically. The Game Awards, I think, should be more utilized for third party developers and publishers like Capcom, Ubisoft. Like, we don't need a Capcom showcase in the summer. We don't need Coke Media. You know what I'm saying? Like, those
Yeah.
showcases that everyone was like doing over the summers, and they toned them down a little last year. But EA doesn't need their own. Like, Ubisoft definitely doesn't need their own. Like, put your announcements on Jeff shows. Get your eyes on the games that probably need it more than the first party.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that, like, whenever I think about what I would want to see next year, I feel 100% certain we're going to see like a Battlefield trailer next year for what the future of Battlefield looks like. Drop that at the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest or Gamescom, and I think that's where you'll see some pop. But then games like, Intergalactic, whenever we get gameplay for that, show that at a PlayStation event. Like, that's clearly going to be kind of that approach. So, yeah, I think that's where we're at.
All right. We have one last question, then we're getting out of here. Rick Davis, who's been hanging out with us in the chat, wrote in, says, Kevin and Sam, design a save the game media themed game. What genre is it? What save the game media characters do you play as party up with? Where's the set? Define some amount of gameplay mechanics. Is it linear, open world, etc.? Is it live service and then will be taken offline 2 days later since Kevin likes it? What specifically would make it unique? And why would Sam clearly be the JRPG style character?
Oh, I would be the JRPG style character. Interesting. I think Sam Heaney should be the JRPG style character.
You both
Yeah.
love JRPGs so much.
I think that and you're gonna hate this answer. I would love to see, if we were to make a Save the Game media themed game, something that's like the Plucky Squire, because I feel like each show is so different in like what it talks about and like the approach, that it's almost like, we're like the cool 3D platformer side of the game, and then you go over to like, the anime squad, and then it's 2D and you've got like that JRPG kind of look to it, and then you've got like different stuff like that. So I think that'd be neat to kind of do something that has a different look and feel for each game. That's kind of how I would like to see it. And probably linear, I would say, just to kind of get through. That's how we do stuff. We have plans. We get through the world and the news each week.
Yes, definitely linear game if we're making a story-based game.
With a battle pass. With a battle pass.
I don't know if we need that though. You
I
know
need
what?
representation, Kevin. I need
If
representation.
you select Sam, you have a battle pass. If you play as any other character, no battle pass.
Yeah, I am the only character with a battle pass, and I charge an extra $10.
he's a day one DLC. You actually have to pay to unlock him.
You can change my color from red to blue for $10.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? We'll have you be one skin and then the other Sam be the other skin, and it'll change the colors, you know?
I like that. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Let's make a fighting game, all right? I'll just
Even better. Yeah, we do like a Shredder's Revenge style street brawler where we just fight each other.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, for sure. What kind of anime hair do you have, Sam? This is an important detail.
I mean, to be fair, I think I already have kind of like an anime kind of thing. Yeah, I have like
you got it going on right now.
Yeah, I have the pomade going on right now where I've got one thing down hanging in front. So I think I've got that on lock. I always say I have Lego hair where it's just like you pop it off. It's like the same every time.
If XCP can be DLC characters, hell yeah.
I like that. I like that.
If you want a Halloween costume, just dye your hair blonde and go to Cloud Strife. Right?
Ooh, I probably won't, but I appreciate the suggestion.
Like a lot of work, but just saying. All right, let's get on out of here, guys. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us. Sam, before we go, can you let everyone know where they can find you, my friend?
Yeah, you can find me at JamPackSam on TikTok, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all those fun places. I think I said TikTok twice, but that's okay. It'll be gone in a month anyway. So you can find me all these places. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back next week with a higher frame rate. But I appreciate you guys allowing me to channel my inner Kazan, the first Berserker, and just hit with that 20 FPS. So I appreciate that. But you can always find me here as well. Always a good time.
He's committed to South of Midnight as well.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm going for that stop motion. That's the kind of thing that I'm going for.
You can find me at the Muffin Mon over on Blue Sky, where I'm posting a lot more these days. You can find us at Save the Game Media over on Blue Sky. We're also on Twitter if you're still, hanging out over there. But subscribe to the channel if you're new. I put out lots of videos this week, some reviews. Go check those out. Appreciate everyone. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone. We will see you next week afterwards. Hope you get some sweet gifts. Spend some time with some loved ones. Until then,